Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. It's June 29, 2023. Great to be with all of you today. My name is Bob Lang, and I run explosiveoptions.net with an absolutely amazing, wonderful chat room. You can see the chat room right here. A lot of great people in here, and brilliant traders in our room. If you haven't had a chance to try our chat room out, go to explosiveoptions.net and come on into the room. You'll learn a lot. Hopefully make a little bit of money as well too. So welcome to our daily bites. We do these on every Monday and Thursday, roughly about 8:30 today. A little bit late. I had to take a look at the economic data before when it came out at 8:30 today. Sometimes we were a little bit delayed on that, but we'll be back together again on Monday, July 3rd. Of course, don't forget next week is a shortened trading week. It's a holiday shortened week. The markets will be open only a half day on Monday. So the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, everything like that, except for the futures, will be open from 9:30 till 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time, or 6:30 to 10 on the West Coast. Markets are closed Tuesday in observance of the July 4th Independence Day holiday. We'll be back open on Wednesday, the 5th, for the rest of the week. So a day and a half extra of time decay for options, of course, Monday and Tuesday. And so instead of your normal 2 days for the weekend, it's 3.5 days. It's kind of similar to what we get around the Thanksgiving holiday. So let's talk a little bit about markets here. Looks like the futures are up a little bit this morning. We have the S&P 500 equity futures up about 11 handles, the NASDAQ up about 30. And the Dow doing much better, up about 0.3%, about 100 points on the Dow Industrials here. So what happened, what's kind of stoking this rally? I think last night's news on the banks' stress test results are driving the markets up a little bit this morning. We see that a lot of the banks are up sharply this morning. Goldman Sachs, which is GS, you can see down here about $4.50, about 1.5%. JP Morgan up a couple of dollars as well. I also saw Morgan Stanley up about $1.30, about 1.6%. So most of these banks are up anywhere from about 1 to 2% already early this morning. So we'll see if that continues on. We see the Russell 2000 is showing some good relative strength today as well. Chinese stocks not doing all that great this morning, but some technology names are doing well. Netflix, another upgrade today, and with a price target of $500. That stock is up about $4, as you can see, $4.50 today. And Tesla's up a couple of dollars, pushing that 260 level as well. So a little mixed bag over here. Apple's up a little bit, and Amazon's up a little bit here. So we had that big rally on Tuesday. Didn't get much follow through yesterday, although we did close rather strong. Breath was up strong Tuesday. It was up slightly yesterday, 16 to 13 on the New York Stock Exchange Breath. So what does that mean? It means that the breath signals are still on a buy. We'd like to see stronger breath today for the bulls than we had yesterday. Of course, tomorrow being the last day of the month, last day of the quarter, it'll be interesting to see where things finish up for the month and the quarter tomorrow. Let's take a look at the oscillators here. The McClellan Oscillators, you can see on these two panes down over here are well, kind of mixed right now, right? So we have the New York Stock Exchange in positive territory, plus 41, not nearly as overbought as it was last month or earlier this month. The NASDAQ is still in the negative territory, minus 43. And if we push that NASDAQ back above 100 and we get these price oscillators, which are still pointing down, if we get those price oscillators starting to push up, that could stoke a nice rally at the start of July when the holiday is over. So we'll have to see how things go. Again, we don't really want to anticipate what markets are going to do. We have to wait till they actually do something, get over certain hurdles, and then and then get confirmation, and then we have the green light to go ahead and get more involved. So that's the oscillators here. So I think it's probably best for us to sit back and wait for things to develop on the oscillator. So the volatility, of course, is up a little bit this morning. I suspect it'll get sold down later on today, as it normally does later in the week. And then on Friday, we've had bad Fridays for the past few weeks. Poor Fridays. Last Friday actually was not too bad, but the prior 3 weeks were really horrible Fridays. So let's take a look at some charts here. First off, I want to show you the Fed funds futures, which are now portraying about an 85% chance of a rate hike at next month's Fed meeting. Of course, yesterday there was the forum of central bankers, and all of them, including Chair Powell, reiterated their hawkish view that rate hikes are going to continue on, even if they slow down a little bit. We had a pause, of course, a couple weeks ago from the Fed. They're pretty intent on raising interest rates again in July. The market is expecting that as well. September, it's looking like September could be a pause, and then November probably another rate hike coming in at 31% at in fact two rate hikes in November, coming in at 4% chance. So about 35-36% chance of another rate hike coming in November, raising the target rate to 5.5 to 5 3/4. And then in December, we see them probably pausing, and then probably pausing later on in the early part of 2024. We really won't get any rate cuts unless the economy starts to nosedive. So speaking about the economy again, we had a second revision, third look on GDP, and that came in stronger than expected. It was expected to be 1.4%, came in at 2% on GDP quarter over quarter. For the first quarter, this is the last revision until the permanent numbers come out in a couple of years. Price index slightly lower than expected, 4.1. That was just a bit of a positive surprise. GDP sales also surprising to the upside, 4.2%, stronger than expected. That probably drove the gains in GDP quarter over quarter. Corporate profits negative. Core PCE slightly lower as well too. We'll get another look at personal consumption expenditures, which came in at 4.1. We'll get a look at the month over month one tomorrow morning before the open. That would be the preliminary or the actually end of the month, June PCE. And consumer spending actually up strong as well too. So we can see where the strength of the economy is coming from, right? It's coming from housing, it's coming from retail, it's coming from consumer spending, and it's coming from the jobs market. The jobs market remains extremely strong and resilient. Chair Powell talked about that yesterday in that forum. It's really kind of mind-boggling to them and to us as well too, how strong and resilient this job market has been in the face of higher interest rates. So we'll see if that continues along for a little bit. If the job market starts to weaken a little bit, we'll see those numbers start creeping into the GDP, into the economy. But as of now, if you look at the GDP now for Atlanta Fed for second quarter estimates, and you can see right here, the Atlanta Fed is looking at a 1.8% GDP number for Q2, right? So 2% first quarter, 1.8 in the second quarter. So that's an average of about what? Let's just spitball here, 1.9% average in the first half of the year. That's far away from a recession. So we would have to have a huge nosedive in the economy to have a recession in the fourth quarter and third and fourth quarter of this year. So I think while there's some analysts and some bank research are predicting a recession coming up later this year, as of the data is telling me it's highly unlikely. Could it be coming up in 2024? Certainly, if there's some weakness in the jobs market, that's what we're going to be expecting. So as far as some other charts are concerned, yesterday actually I did the chart of the week for Unity, symbol U. and you can see how strong this stock was on Tuesday. Powered up. It caught the shorts looking the wrong way, and it powered up again yesterday for a follow-through day. I think the stock has a lot of room left to go, possibly up to the $60 level, and then maybe beyond that, 69. I have a chart of the week, which I posted on YouTube. You guys can check out my YouTube channel, Explosive Options YouTube channel, to see that video. And then other names I'm looking at. Netflix, this is one that we got into on Monday. We added some calls on Monday. Look at that. Tested beautifully that 20-day moving average on Monday and Tuesday, and right back up on Wednesday. And it looks like it's going to be gapping up a little bit higher this morning as well, too. So, you know, this is a stock that we've been doing extremely well with for the past few weeks since stock was in the 340s, 350s. We've been buying calls actually expiring. We have some calls that are expiring next week that are deep in the money already, which we've been buying over the past couple of weeks. So that's that. I'm looking at Nike tonight. They have earnings coming out. The chart's dreadful here. It's really horrible. But this stock has a tendency to do really well when it sells off. When it pushes higher into an earnings report, that's when it sells off. So I'm willing to give this one possibly a little bit of a flyer today, as the stock has sold off from 128 all the way down to what, 113, 114. It may not do very much at all, right? So the options are not all that expensive coming into earnings. So we may get a little bit of a delayed pop on this thing. I may be looking at some July or some August calls, maybe some call spreads, possibly up to the 120 level, where the 100-day moving average is just below there. We have the 50-day moving average over here. But again, you know, we have rallied off of the 102 level from the early part of June. We have rallied over 10% for the past 3.5 weeks. So maybe that's already priced into the stock. So other ones that I'm looking at, Morgan Stanley. Again, this is a stock that's come down, that's been pounded since breaking down in the early part of February. This is a stock that's got some huge resistance at about the $90 level. But I think the news last night with the bank stress test was positive. It's going to be positive for Morgan Stanley. There is a lot of supply here. There's going to be some sellers coming in as the stock makes its way up towards its 100-day moving average. But I think with earnings coming out in a few weeks, this is probably one of those banks that's going to perform well and not only post good earnings, but perform well as well too. I'm also looking at JP Morgan. This is a stock that has actually performed a lot better than some of the other names, better than Wells Fargo, better than Citi, and better than Bank of America. It's a multi-cap, big cap brethren there. So I'm looking at this one. It is below the 20-day moving average, so it has me a little bit concerned at this point. It's not as strong as it was back in the early part of June, but let's see what happens today. If it gets a good close today over 140 and then tomorrow follows through, then JP Morgan would probably be a buy on my radar screen. So last thing I want to show you here is the chart of the S&P 500. S&P 500 came down beautifully, nearly tested that 20-day moving average, skirted right off of it. We got a higher high and a higher low yesterday. We'll see if we continue that trend today with a higher high and a higher low. When we get above this other moving average here, we can get in to fill that gap from a couple of weeks ago, which comes in and around, fill that gap at 4409 on the S&P 500. If we get through to 4400 in the next couple of days, we're going to get a run, fill that gap. So that's going to be it, everyone. I wish you guys all a great trading day. Be careful out there. Keep some protection on. We're still in a bear market, right? And I know this doesn't feel like it, but we're still in the throes of a bear market until we cross over, which we may get that tomorrow at the end of the month, and at the end of the quarter. And then if we get a follow through month at the end of July, well, then maybe it's game on for a bull market at the start of August. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, wish you guys all a great trading day. Take it slow. Pay attention to what's going on. Take some profits. Focus on the action today. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a little bit tricky today. So take your time and do some great trading today. And I hope to see you guys all on Monday morning. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.